The first time Claire Bennett called me her boyfriend, I had mustard on my shirt, a paper plate sagging under two ribs, and her grandmother staring at me like she was deciding whether I had the hips for future great-grandchildren. "This is him?" the old woman asked. Claire slid her hand through my arm like she had done it 100 times before. "This is him," she said brightly. "My boyfriend, Ethan." I nearly swallowed a jalapeno whole. For context, I was not Claire Bennett's boyfriend. I was barely Claire Bennett's friend. My name is Ethan Brooks. I'm 32, and until that 4th of July afternoon, Claire and I had a very simple relationship. We competed, we argued, and occasionally we stayed late at the office pretending we weren't impressed by each other. We were both senior project managers at Larkin and Vale, a design-build firm in Austin. Claire handled hospitality renovations with the calm precision of a surgeon. I handled commercial spaces and had a reputation for fixing disasters without raising my voice, which was less a personality trait and more a survival mechanism. For 6 months, we'd been chasing the same promotion. Director of Operations, one chair, two people. A whole office pretending not to place bets. Claire was the kind of woman who could walk into a conference room, open one leather notebook, and make grown contractors sit up straighter. She had dark auburn hair she usually pinned back with a pencil, green eyes that missed nothing, and a smile she used sparingly enough to make it feel like a limited-time offer. I told myself I found her annoying. That was safer than admitting I noticed when she laughed. That morning, I was in my apartment trying to enjoy my first holiday off in weeks when my phone buzzed. Claire Bennett. I stared at the screen like it might be a work emergency because Claire did not call me socially. Claire sent emails with bullet points. Claire corrected calendar invites. Claire once labeled a shared folder, "Ethan's version, unfortunately." I answered. If the Riverside permit office burned down, I didn't do it. "Are you busy?" she asked. "No hello." Very Claire. "I'm deeply committed to doing nothing." "Good, I need you to come with me." I sat up. To where? "My family's 4th of July barbecue." I looked around my quiet apartment, as if there might be another Ethan hiding behind the couch who made more sense for this request. "Your family barbecue," I repeated. "Yes." "As a consultant?" "As a person." That's vague and concerning. She exhaled, and for the first time I heard something under her usual sharpness. Not panic exactly, more like she was holding a door shut with her shoulder. "My mother thinks I'm bringing someone." "Someone?" "A boyfriend." I waited. She didn't add anything. I said, "Claire." "I know." "You don't have a boyfriend." "I'm aware of my own inventory, Ethan." "Then why does your mother think you do?" "Because I may have implied it." "Implied?" "Strongly." I should have said no. Any sane man would have said no, wished her luck, and returned to his sacred couch. But Claire went quiet. That was the part that got me. Claire Bennett didn't do quiet. She filled silence with strategy. I rubbed my forehead. "Why me?" "Because you're believable." That landed in a place I didn't want to examine. "Believable how?" "As someone I date." There was another silence, but this one was mine. Then she ruined it because, of course she did. "Don't sound so touched. I'm desperate, not concussed." I laughed despite myself. 20 minutes later, she pulled up outside my building in a navy sundress and white sandals, and I forgot every clever thing I had planned to say. At work, Claire looked polished in a way that warned people not to waste her time. Out of work, with her hair loose over one shoulder and sunglasses pushed up on her head, she looked softer but somehow more dangerous. She leaned across the passenger seat and opened the door. "Get in, Brooks." "Nice to see you too, fake sweetheart." Her mouth twitched. "Try that in front of my father and you'll be eating corn alone by the shed." I climbed in, carrying the store-bought berry pie she had ordered me to pick up on the way. The car smelled like sunscreen, mint gum, and Claire's perfume. Something clean and warm that made the small space feel smaller than it was. She glanced at my shirt. "You wore blue. It's the 4th of July. It brings out your eyes." I turned to her. She looked straight ahead, reversing out of the lot like she hadn't just tossed a match into my lap. "Was that part of the performance?" I asked. "Or did you just accidentally say something nice?" "Don't get attached. It was a limited release." We drove north toward her parents' place, past neighborhoods lined with flags and sprinklers and kids already waving sparklers in broad daylight. Claire briefed me like we were entering a hostile negotiation. Her mother, Diane, hugged without warning. Her father, Bill, asked too many questions but respected brisket. Her younger sister, Paige, detected lies for sport. Her grandmother, Ruth, was small, floral, and emotionally armed. "And your ex?" I asked, because she had mentioned him too casually not to mean something. Claire's fingers tightened on the steering wheel. "Tyler might be there." "Ah, he and my brother are still friends. It's not dramatic." "You used your fake boyfriend voice when you said that." She shot me a look. "I don't have a fake boyfriend voice." "You do. It sounds like a woman stapling a smile to her face." For half a second, the mask slipped. Tyler, I learned, had been the man her family loved before he cheated on her with someone from his gym and then somehow convinced everyone the breakup had been mutual and mature. Claire had not corrected them because, in her words, I had better things to do than host a community trial. "You could have told them the truth," I said. "I know. Why didn't you?" She parked at the curb in front of a house already vibrating with laughter, music, and smoke from a backyard grill. Then she turned to me, and the joking fell away. "Because I was embarrassed that I stayed as long as I did." It was the first honest thing she had said all day. Not sharp, not strategic, just quiet. I looked at her differently then, not with pity. Claire would have hated pity. I looked at her the way you look at someone who has carried a heavy thing so well, you didn't notice the bruises on her hands. "You don't have to prove anything to them," I said. "I know." But she didn't move. So I offered my arm. Her eyes dropped to it, then back to my face. "You're enjoying this," she said. "I'm choosing to be excellent under pressure." She laughed then, a real laugh, surprised out of her, and it did something inconvenient to my chest. She took my arm. The second we entered the backyard, 30 faces turned toward us. There were folding chairs everywhere, kids running barefoot through the grass, country music on a portable speaker, red, white, and blue bunting on the fence, and a buffet table loaded like someone had prepared for a minor military campaign. Claire's mother saw us first. Her hands flew to her mouth. "Oh my goodness," Diane said. "You actually brought him." Before I could ask what that meant, Claire squeezed my arm hard enough to leave a legal imprint. "Mom," she said, bright and terrifying. "This is Ethan." Diane hugged me before I could defend myself. "You're taller than I imagined," she said into my shoulder. "Imagined?" Claire's father shook my hand and looked me over with the solemn judgment of a man who owned multiple grilling thermometers. "Ethan," he said, "heard a lot about you." I glanced at Claire. Her smile did not move, but her eyes said, "Do not ask questions if you enjoy being alive." Then Grandma Ruth appeared, 4 feet 11 inches of floral blouse and authority. She looked at Claire's hand tucked through my arm. She looked at me. Then she asked, "This is him?" And that was how I ended up officially introduced as Claire Bennett's boyfriend, while holding a paper plate and questioning every decision that had led me there. For the next 20 minutes, we performed. Claire stood close enough that her shoulder brushed mine whenever someone asked how we met. I told them we worked together. She added, "He annoyed me into affection." I said, "She bullied me into personal growth." Paige, her sister, narrowed her eyes over a bowl of pasta salad. "So who asked who out?" Claire opened her mouth. I beat her to it. "I did." Claire looked up at me. That wasn't part of the plan. I could tell because she stopped, breathing for half a second. I smiled. Easy. It took me 3 tries. She rejected the first 2 for formatting issues. Paige laughed. Claire's thumb moved lightly against my forearm, hidden from everyone but me. A thank you or maybe a warning. Either way, I felt it long after she stopped. Then a man's voice cut through the yard. "Well, I'll be damned." Claire went still beside me. I turned. A blonde guy in a fitted polo stood by the cooler with a beer in his hand and a smile that knew exactly how handsome it was. Tyler. His eyes dropped to Claire's hand on my arm. Then he looked at me. "So this is the guy," he said. Before Claire could answer, Diane appeared at my side and whispered, warm and relieved, I'm so glad she finally brought you. She's been talking about you for almost a year. I looked down at Claire. Her face had gone pale, and for the first time all day, I realized this fake relationship might not have started in that car at all. For a second, the whole backyard kept moving around us. Kids shrieked near the sprinkler. Someone laughed by the grill. A firecracker popped in the street and made a dog bark 3 houses over. But Claire and I stood still. She's been talking about you for almost a year, her mother had said. A year. Claire's fingers loosened on my arm. I looked at her. Have you? Her eyes flicked up to mine, then away. Not here. That was not a denial. Tyler chose that exact moment to stroll over because men like Tyler had a supernatural ability to sense when a woman was cornered. Ethan, right? He said, holding out his hand. I shook it. His grip was too firm, predictable. Tyler, he said, Claire's ex. I gathered. Claire's grandmother made a noise into her lemonade that sounded suspiciously like approval. Tyler grinned. Claire and I go way back. Claire's hand slid from my arm. I caught it. Not dramatically, not possessively. Just enough that my fingers fit between hers before she could disappear into herself. She looked down at our joined hands, then at me. Something changed in her face. A small, startled softness, like she hadn't expected me to stay in the lie once it became uncomfortable. But that was the problem. It wasn't feeling much like a lie anymore. We work together, I said. So, I've heard a little. Tyler lifted one brow. All good, I hope. Claire's sister Paige muttered, unlikely. I liked Paige immediately. Claire cleared her throat. Ethan was just about to help me bring out the pie. I was? I asked. Her smile was sweet enough to frost glass. You were. She tugged me toward the sliding door and I let her. Inside, the kitchen was blissfully cooler and smelled like sugar, onions, and something lemony. Claire let go of my hand the second the door shut behind us, then pressed both palms to the counter. I can explain, she said. Can you? She winced. I can attempt a controlled narrative. Claire. She turned. Fine, yes, I've talked about you. For a year. Not constantly. I waited. Periodically, she amended. I leaned back against the counter. Define periodically. Enough that my mother developed a theory. What theory? Claire looked at the ceiling like it might drop mercy on her. That I had feelings for you. My heart did a strange, hard kick. And did you? She lowered her gaze to mine. At work, Claire's eye contact was a weapon. In that kitchen, it felt like a hand held out in the dark. I didn't want to, she said. That answer did more damage than yes. I forgot the barbecue, forgot Tyler outside, forgot the promotion we were both supposed to be fighting over. You didn't want to, I repeated. No. Her laugh was quiet, embarrassed. You were irritating, competent, calm in a way that made me want to throw office supplies. You remembered things I said and then used them later like they mattered. They did matter. Her mouth parted slightly. I realized I had stepped closer. She realized it too. The kitchen seemed to shrink around us, the hum of the refrigerator, the muffled music outside, the sunlight cutting across her bare shoulder. Claire swallowed. This is a bad idea. Which part? The part where I tell you that sometimes when you're standing at the conference table arguing with me about budgets, I forget what point I was making because you roll up your sleeves. I stared at her. Then she covered her face with one hand. I hate that I said that out loud. I laughed, low and helpless. Her hand dropped. Don't laugh at me. I'm not. I moved closer until there was only the corner of the counter between us. I'm trying not to look too pleased. You're failing. Completely. She smiled then, unwilling but real. It hit me harder than Tyler ever could. I reached out and touched the edge of her hair where it had caught on her lip. I brushed it free with my thumb. Claire went very still. Ethan, she said, but it wasn't a warning, it was a question. The sliding door rattled behind us. We jumped apart like teenagers. Paige stepped into the kitchen, holding an empty chip bowl and wearing the expression of a woman who had just discovered premium gossip. Oh, don't stop on my account. Claire grabbed the pie box. We weren't doing anything. Tragic, Paige said. Because from out there, Tyler is performing his wounded golden retriever routine, Mom is pretending not to spy, and Grandma Ruth just asked if Ethan has a brother. I don't, I said. Paige sighed. Selfish. Claire pointed at the door. Out. Paige snatched a handful of berries from a bowl and looked at me. For what it's worth, you're already my favorite of her fake boyfriends. Claire froze. I looked at her. Fake boyfriends? Plural? Paige blinked. Oh, did I say fake? I meant emotionally unavailable. Paige? Her sister grinned and fled. Claire groaned. There have not been fake boyfriends, plural. I folded my arms. Just me. Just you. That feels significant. It is logistically convenient. Claire, she lifted the pie like a shield. Please don't make me unpack my entire psychological profile in my mother's kitchen while holding dessert. I stepped in and took the pie from her hands. Our fingers brushed. She let me have it. Then, softer, I said, I'm not making fun of you. I know. I'm not mad. Her eyes searched mine. You should be. I pulled you into a family ambush and apparently my mother has been building a shrine to you from casual complaints. I'm flattered by the shrine. Of course you are. And confused. That's fair. And curious. That's dangerous. I smiled. For who? Claire looked at me for a long second. Then she reached up and adjusted my collar. It was such a simple thing. Bare fingers against my throat. A careful tug. Her attention fixed on me like I was something worth getting right. For me, she said. We went back outside together, pie between us like evidence. Tyler was waiting near the table. Claire, he said, can we talk for a second? Her shoulders tightened, but before I could say anything, she glanced at me and squeezed my hand again. This time, she was the one who reached for me. No, she said to Tyler, not loud, not cruel, just final. I'm with Ethan. Tyler's smile faltered. Claire turned to me, eyes bright with nerves and something braver beneath them. Come sit with me? There were empty chairs everywhere. She chose the porch swing. We sat shoulder to shoulder while her father passed us ribs, and her grandmother asked whether I believed in marriage before or after home ownership. Claire's thigh pressed against mine, warm through the thin cotton of her dress. At first, it was for the performance. Then the conversation drifted. People stopped watching us. Tyler sulked near the cooler. The sun lowered behind the oak trees and Claire still didn't move away. You okay? I asked under the cover of Bill yelling about grill temperatures. She nodded. Better than I expected. Because of me? She tilted her head. Don't ruin a nice moment by fishing. I prefer to think of it as strategic inquiry. There it is, the office voice. I nudged her knee with mine. You like my office voice? Unfortunately. We sat there smiling like idiots. Then her grandmother shuffled past, paused, and said, If you two are going to pretend, you should know you're both terrible at it. Claire choked on her lemonade. I looked at Ruth. She winked and kept walking. Claire buried her face in her hands. I'm moving to Oregon. I leaned close, my mouth near her ear. For the record, I'm having a very nice time with my fake girlfriend. Her hands lowered slowly. I was close enough to see the gold flecks in her green eyes. I'm having a nice time too, she said. No joke followed, no insult, no retreat. Just Claire Bennett, choosing honesty for the second time that day. Then the first fireworks began popping somewhere beyond the rooftops, and her family cheered. Claire looked toward the sound, but her hand slid across the porch swing and found mine in the darkening space between us. This time, no one was watching. Claire held my hand through the first round of fireworks, not for show. Her parents had wandered to the lawn, Paige was corralling cousins with glow sticks. Tyler had disappeared behind a cloud of wounded pride and brisket smoke. No one was looking at the porch swing except maybe Grandma Ruth, and I had accepted that Ruth saw everything, including sins not yet committed. Claire's palm fit against mine like an argument ending. A blue firework burst over the rooftops, lighting her face for half a second. She was watching the sky, but I was watching her. You're staring, she said. You're not looking at me. I don't need to. I can feel smugness. Not smugness. Her eyes slid to mine. Then what? That was dangerous ground, so naturally I stepped on it. Surprise? I said. Mostly. At what? At you. She tried to pull her hand away, but I tightened my fingers just enough to ask her not to. She stayed. Careful, she said. That sounded sincere. I've been sincere at least 4 times today. Personal record, holiday spirit. Another firework cracked overhead, red light flashing across her smile. For a while we sat with our shoulders pressed together and let the noise cover the silence. It should have been awkward. We should have been sorting out rules, boundaries, consequences. Instead, I traced my thumb once over her knuckles. Claire inhaled softly. That tiny sound went straight through me. Is this okay? I asked. She looked down at our hands. Then she turned hers over and laced our fingers properly. That's my answer. It felt embarrassingly close to a victory. After the fireworks slowed, Bill announced there was watermelon in the garage fridge, Diane shouted that nobody was allowed to leave without leftovers, and Paige dragged 3 cousins into a sparkler photo shoot. Claire stood. Walk with me? Are we escaping or strolling? Yes. She led me through the side gate and around to the front of the house, where the noise softened behind the fence. The street glowed with porch lights and paper lanterns. Neighbors sat in driveways, kids waved sparklers in lazy circles, and the air smelled like smoke, cut grass, and summer heat radiating off the pavement. Claire kicked off her sandals and carried them in one hand. You're very committed to the bit, I said. What bit? The romantic barefoot walk. She glanced over. If this were romantic, you'd be carrying my shoes. I held out my hand. She looked at it, then laughed, and gave me the sandals. The sound loosened something in me. You're different away from work, I said. So are you. How? At work, you're infuriatingly controlled. Thank you. That wasn't praise. It sounded like praise delivered poorly. She bumped my shoulder with hers. Here, you're still controlled, but less like a man defusing a bomb, and more like one who might actually enjoy himself. I am enjoying myself. Claire's steps slowed. The street had grown quieter. We'd reached the end of the block where a live oak spread heavy branches over the sidewalk. Gold light from a nearby porch caught in her hair. With me? She asked. I stopped beside her. There it was again, that unguarded question beneath the polished woman, the part of Claire that didn't ask unless the answer mattered. With you, I said. Her throat moved as she swallowed. I didn't make up everything, she said. I stayed still. When my mom asked if I was seeing anyone, I should have said no, but she'd been talking about Tyler again, and how nice it was that we were all mature now, and She looked down the empty street. I said there was someone at work. Me? Not by name at first. But eventually, her smile was small and embarrassed. You'd done something irritatingly decent. What? You stayed late to help me redo the Benton numbers after my junior coordinator missed a vendor credit. I remember. You didn't take credit for it. It was your project. It was my disaster. She looked at me then. You made it smaller and never told anyone. I hadn't thought she noticed. Claire folded her arms, sandals gone, barefoot on the warm sidewalk. After Tyler, I didn't trust kindness if it came with an audience. Yours didn't. That annoyed me. Kindness offended you. From you? Deeply. I laughed, but it came out quiet. She took one step closer. So, yes, she said. I talked about you. I complained. Mostly. But sometimes I didn't. What did you say when you weren't complaining? That you listen. Her eyes searched mine. That you make people feel steady? That you have a terrible habit of being right? That when you smile at something you think no one else noticed? I want to know what it was. My chest tightened. Claire. I know. She looked away fast. Too much. No. She met my eyes again. Not too much, I said. The next firework was distant, a low thump of silver behind the houses. I reached for her free hand, slowly so she had time to decide. She gave it to me. I told myself I disliked you because liking you would complicate everything, I said. The promotion, the office, my very convincing image as a reasonable adult. Her mouth curved. Very convincing. But I liked you anyway. Her smile faded into something softer. Past tense? She asked. I stepped closer. Close enough that her breath caught. Close enough that all the joking had nowhere to hide. No. For one suspended second, neither of us moved. Then Claire rose onto her toes and kissed me. It wasn't dramatic. No music swelled. No one cheered from behind a hedge. It was soft and careful and so much better than any version my imagination had no business constructing during budget meetings. Her fingers curled lightly in my shirt. Mine settled at her waist, and she fit there with a sigh that made every competitive instinct I'd ever had feel foolish and small. When she drew back, she stayed close. That was not part of the cover story, she whispered. I'm willing to revise the documentation. She laughed against my mouth and I kissed her again because I was not a saint, and because she leaned into me like she wanted me to. This kiss was less careful. A sparkler hissed somewhere down the street. Claire's hand slid to the back of my neck, and for a few seconds the entire world narrowed to warm skin, summer air, and the stunning fact that Claire Bennett kissed like she had been arguing with me for months just to save up momentum. A car door slammed nearby. We separated, breathing like we'd sprinted. Across the street, an older man getting out of a truck politely pretended not to see us. Claire pressed her fingers to her lips, then looked at me with wide eyes. We work together, she said. We do. We're competing for the same promotion. We are. My family thinks we're practically engaged. I'm still recovering from Ruth's home ownership timeline. She laughed, but nerves flickered beneath it. I took her hand again. We don't have to solve everything tonight. That's irresponsible. It's a barbecue. I'm allowed one irresponsible choice. Just one? I looked at her mouth. Her cheeks colored. Brooks, she warned, I didn't say anything. You thought loudly. We started back toward the house, her sandals dangling from my fingers, our hands linked between us. At the gate, Claire stopped. What happens when we go back in? I knew what she meant. Was it fake again? Was it real? Was it something we'd pretend hadn't happened once the fireworks ended? I lifted our joined hands and kissed her knuckles. Her expression changed like I'd answered a question she hadn't trusted herself to ask. We go back in, I said, and I sit beside you because I want to, not because you need a decoy. Claire was quiet. Then she stepped closer and touched my jaw, thumb brushing once along the edge of my mouth. I want that, she said. We returned to the backyard hand in hand. Paige spotted us immediately, eyes narrowing. Interesting. Claire pointed at her. No. I said one word. It had punctuation. Before Paige could interrogate us, Diane swept in with a stack of containers. Ethan, honey, do you eat peach cobbler? I do now. Claire leaned toward me. Traitor. Your mother called me honey. I've been recruited. Diane beamed and disappeared. For the next half hour, it was easy in a way that frightened me. Claire and I shared cobbler from one bowl because Paige ran out of clean ones. Claire stole the best peach slice. I retaliated by getting whipped cream on her thumb. She looked at it, then at me. Don't, she said. I wasn't going to. You were considering it. I absolutely was. So she held my gaze and licked the whipped cream off herself. My brain emptied. Claire smiled serenely. Problem? You're a menace. I've been telling you that for months. By the time Tyler reappeared, I had almost forgotten him. Almost. He came over while Claire was laughing at something her father said, and his gaze caught on the way her knee rested against mine under the picnic table. Wow, he said, you two are really selling it. Claire's laughter died. I felt her shift beside me, but before either of us spoke, she slipped her hand onto my thigh under the table, not hiding, not clinging. Choosing. Then she looked at Tyler with a calm I admired. We're not selling anything, she said, and when she turned back to me, her hand stayed right where it was. Tyler looked from Claire to me, waiting for one of us to flinch. Claire did not. Her hand remained on my thigh under the picnic table, warm and steady, while above the table she took a calm sip of lemonade, like she hadn't just detonated the last excuse between us. "We're not selling anything," she had said. It hung there in the humid evening. Tyler's smile thinned. "That was fast." Claire set down her cup. "No, Tyler, it really wasn't." Paige, sitting across from us, suddenly became fascinated by her cobbler. Grandma Ruth, 2 chairs away, did not even pretend. Tyler's jaw flexed. "I just think it's convenient. You show up with a guy from work right when everyone's asking questions." I felt Claire's fingers tense. I could have answered. I wanted to, but Claire didn't need me to rescue her. She turned her hand palm up beneath the table, and I laced my fingers with hers. "A quiet offer? Not a shield." She squeezed once. Then she said, "You don't get to decide what's real in my life anymore." That silenced him. Not dramatically. There was no gasp, no clatter of forks, just Tyler losing the easy confidence of a man who had assumed the story would always bend toward him. After a moment, he lifted his beer. "Good luck, then." "Thanks," Claire said. "I mean that less than it sounds." Paige coughed into her napkin. Tyler walked away. Claire exhaled like she'd been holding the breath for 2 years. I leaned close. That last part was very diplomatic. "I work in client services." "Terrifying field." Her thumb moved over mine under the table. "Thank you for not jumping in." "I figured you had him." She looked at me then, and the softness in her expression was almost more intimate than the kisses had been. "I did," she said, "but I liked that you were there." There were a dozen jokes I could have made, a dozen safer exits. Instead I said, "I like being there." Her lips parted, then curved. "Careful, Brooks." "With what?" "Making it hard for me to go back to disliking you." That ship exploded around the second kiss. "Second?" Paige said loudly from across the table. Claire closed her eyes. "I'm going to bury you in Mom's herb garden." Paige pointed her spoon at me. "You kissed her twice?" "Technically," I said. "She kissed me first." Claire's eyes flew open. "Traitor!" Paige gasped with joy. I knew it." Grandma Ruth leaned over. "Was it a good kiss?" "Grandma." "I'm old, not dead." I looked at Claire. Her face was bright red, but she was smiling despite herself. It did things to me, that smile. Made me want to earn it when no one was watching. "It was a very good kiss," I said. Claire stared at me. Grandma Ruth nodded. "Fine. He can stay." After that, the night loosened around us. Tyler left before the last fireworks show, claiming an early morning. No one argued. Diane hugged him politely at the gate, then returned to press an extra container of cobbler into my hands with the fervor of a woman transferring dowry assets. Claire and I helped gather plates. We worked well together, annoyingly well, moving around the kitchen, with the same rhythm we had in conference rooms, anticipating, correcting, trading dry comments over stacks of sticky dishes. Except now, every brush of her shoulder against mine meant something. At the sink, she handed me a wet serving spoon. "You're enjoying my family. I am deeply afraid of your grandmother, but yes. Ruth likes you." Ruth asked if I had retirement savings. She likes you seriously. I dried the spoon and set it down. "What about you?" Claire's hands went still in the soapy water. Outside, the family was laughing on the porch. Inside, it was just us, the yellow kitchen light and the low hum of the dishwasher. "What about me?" she asked. "Do you like me seriously?" She looked down, and for once the mighty Claire Bennett had no immediate reply. I regretted the question for half a second. Then she pulled her hands from the sink, dried them on a towel, and turned to face me. "Yes," she said. One word, no armor. My chest tightened. "I like you seriously," she continued, quieter. "And inconveniently, and probably too much for someone I'm supposed to beat out for a promotion." I smiled faintly. "That part is mutual. The promotion or the too much?" "Yes." She huffed a laugh, but it shook at the edges. "This could get messy." "It could. I don't want to be office gossip." "Me neither. I don't want people thinking I got distracted, or that I softened, or that if you get the job, it's because I was busy making hard eyes over cobbler." For the record, your cobbler eyes were more predatory than romantic. Ethan. I stepped closer, not touching her yet. I don't want to take anything from you. Not credit, not space, not the promotion. If we do this, we do it honestly. If? Her eyes sharpened. There she was. I love that part of her too. The challenge, the refusal to let me drift vague when the answer mattered. When? I corrected. Her expression changed and that single shift felt like stepping into sunlight. When we do this, I said, we tell HR if we need to. We don't hide anything that could hurt either of us. We compete fairly. We don't make decisions in parking lots after kissing under oak trees. A shame. That was a strong location for decision-making. I'm open to future oak tree discussions. Claire smiled. Then she reached for the front of my shirt and tugged me closer. I went willingly. Say the important part again, she said. I rested my hands at her waist. Which part? The when. The word was barely out before I kissed her. This time, there was nothing careful about the way she kissed me back. She rose into it, one hand sliding up my chest, the other curling behind my neck like she'd been waiting all night to do that again. I backed her gently against the counter and she made a soft sound that nearly ended my ability to behave in her mother's kitchen. I broke the kiss first, forehead resting against hers. We are in range of your grandmother, I whispered. Claire's breathing was uneven. That woman has lived through 3 wars and my teenage years. She'll survive. I laughed and she smiled against my mouth. Then she kissed me once more, slower. Not for anyone else. Not fake. Not accidental. When we separated, she kept her hands on me. I don't know how to do this, she admitted. Date? Trust it. The honesty scraped me clean. I brushed my thumb along her cheek. Then we'll go slow. I invited you to a family barbecue and kissed you on a sidewalk within 6 hours. Slow from this point forward. That sounds like something a man says right before he makes a bad choice. I make excellent choices. You bought a grocery store pie and called it contribution. You told me to. I was testing you. I passed. Her smile softened again. You did, she said. We returned outside carrying clean dishes and trying to look respectable. Based on Paige's face, we failed. The final fireworks began just after 9:30. Everyone gathered on the lawn with folding chairs and citronella candles. Claire and I stood near the back beneath the oak tree where the shadows were kind. She leaned against my side and after a moment, I wrapped my arm around her waist. She didn't stiffen. She relaxed. That simple trust felt bigger than the kiss. Colors bloomed overhead, gold, red, blue, lighting the yard in brief flashes. Claire's head rested against my shoulder. Her family cheered around us. For once, she wasn't performing confidence. She was simply there, warm and real against me. I should probably apologize, she said, for dragging me here, for lying. I looked down at her. You didn't lie about the important part. Her eyes lifted. You wanted me here, I said. I wanted to stay. A burst of silver lit her face. I still want you here, she said. So I kissed her temple because anything more would have gotten us arrested by Grandma Ruth's standards and held her through the finale. Later, as we loaded leftovers into Claire's car, my phone buzzed. A text from our boss, Marianne. Need both of you in early Monday. Director decision timeline moved up. Claire read it over my shoulder. The promotion. Reality, waiting at the curb. Her smile faded, but she didn't step away. I turned to her. We'll handle it. She studied me in the dark, firework smoke drifting above us. Then she reached for my hand. Yes, she said. We will. The drive back to my apartment was quieter than the drive there. Not uncomfortable, just full. Claire had one hand on the wheel and the other resting on the console between us. After 3 minutes of pretending I was a gentleman, I took it. She glanced over. Bold. I've met your grandmother. I fear nothing now. Ruth asked for your phone number before we left. For emergencies? For pie crust tips and background checks. I laughed and her fingers tightened around mine. But when we stopped outside my building, reality settled again. Monday. Marianne, Director of Operations. The office where Claire and I had built our rivalry so carefully, neither of us had left room for anything softer. Claire put the car in park but didn't unlock the doors. If this gets weird, she said, I don't want to lose what we had before. Arguing over subcontractor schedules? Yes. Competitive email timestamps? Absolutely. Mutual irritation hiding unresolved attraction? Her mouth curved. Especially that. I turned toward her. We might lose some of it. Her smile faded. So I added, but maybe we get something better. Claire looked at me for a long moment, then leaned across the console and kissed me. It was slower than the others. Less fireworks, more promise. Her hand rose to my jaw and I felt the faint tremble in her fingers before she steadied herself. When she pulled back, she whispered, I'm scared. That did something to me. Not because Claire sounded weak. She didn't. She sounded brave enough to tell the truth. I covered her hand with mine. Me too. You don't seem scared. I have a calm face. It's misleading. I hate your calm face. No, you don't. No, she admitted, kissing me once more. I really don't. Monday morning we arrived separately, professionally. Claire wore a cream blouse and tailored navy pants. Her hair was pinned back. Her face was composed. To anyone else, she looked like the same Claire Bennett who could make a contractor apologize to a spreadsheet. But when she passed my desk, she placed a coffee beside my keyboard. Black, 2 sugars, my order. On the cup she had written, for emotional support. Unfortunately. I looked up. Across the office, she pretended not to smile. Marianne called us in at 8:30. Our boss was a silver-haired woman with sharp glasses and a sharper instinct for nonsense. She looked at both of us over a folder. I'll make this simple, she said. The director role is changing. Claire and I exchanged a glance. Marianne continued. Larkin and Vale is opening a second operations track. Hospitality and commercial will split. Claire, I want you leading hospitality operations. Ethan, I want you leading commercial operations. For a second, neither of us spoke. Marianne arched a brow. This is usually where people say thank you. Claire recovered first. Thank you. Yes, I said. Thank you. Marianne closed the folder. You both earned it. Separately, repeatedly, exhaustingly. Claire's lips twitched. Then Marianne leaned back. Now, is there anything else I should know before I send the announcement? Claire and I went still. Marianne sighed. I have eyes. Also, Diane Bennett posted 17 photos from Saturday's barbecue. In 6 of them, Ethan is holding Claire's shoes. Claire shut her eyes. I said, in my defense, I was instructed. Marianne removed her glasses. I don't care who you date, provided you disclose it properly, don't create conflicts of interest, and don't make me attend an HR seminar before lunch. Claire straightened. We'll disclose. And we'll keep it professional, I added. Marianne looked between us. You two have never kept anything between you professional. You turned budget reviews into competitive theater. That was professional theater, Claire said. Marianne pointed at the door. Go fill out the form. So we did. Standing outside HR with a clipboard, Claire looked at the relationship disclosure paperwork like it had personally offended her. Romance really does come with documentation, she muttered. I told you I'd revise the files. She looked up at me, expression softening. We're really doing this? I took the pen from her hand, signed my name, and gave it back. When? I reminded her. Claire smiled. Then she signed too. We did go slow after that, mostly because Claire insisted that if we became office gossip, she wanted the gossip to be well-paced and structurally sound. We had our first real date the following Friday at a tiny Italian place with crooked candles and a waiter who called everyone beautiful. Claire wore green. I forgot how to read the menu. You're staring again, she said. I'm off the clock. That doesn't make it polite. No, but it makes it honest. She tried to hide her smile behind her wine glass. After dinner, we walked along the river and she told me more about the parts of herself Tyler had made her doubt. I told her about my parents' divorce, about how calm had become my way of making sure no one noticed when I was falling apart. Claire listened the way I had once listened to her Benton numbers, with full attention, no performance. Then she took my hand. You don't always have to be steady, she said. I looked at our joined hands. Neither do you. She leaned her head against my shoulder. Terrible. We're becoming emotionally mature. I'll sabotage us with a spreadsheet joke. Please do. 6 months later, Claire's family invited me back for Christmas. This time, I arrived as her actual boyfriend, carrying a pie I had made myself after 3 phone consultations with Grandma Ruth. Diane cried anyway. Bill asked me to help with the roast like I had been family for years. Paige gave me a wrapped gift labeled, "To my favorite formatting error." Claire found me in the kitchen after dinner, standing beneath a sprig of mistletoe that Paige had absolutely placed there on purpose. She looked up at it, then at me. This family is subtle as a parade. I can leave if you're uncomfortable. She stepped closer and hooked a finger through my belt loop. Don't you dare. So I kissed her in the warm kitchen while her family pretended not to watch from 3 separate doorways. By the following summer, we were still competing. Not for the same job anymore, but over everything else. Best client satisfaction score, fastest permit approval, whose turn it was to choose takeout, whether my apartment or hers had the better couch. Hers did. I denied it on principle. On the next 4th of July, Claire and I went back to her parents' barbecue together. No lie this time. No emergency boyfriend request. No Tyler by the cooler. No performance, no exit strategy. Just us. She wore a yellow sundress, and I carried her shoes before she even asked. At dusk, we ended up on the same porch swing where we had held hands in secret a year earlier. Fireflies blinked over the lawn. Kids chased sparklers. Ruth sat nearby like a tiny floral surveillance system, knitting something suspiciously baby-sized for no reason. Claire leaned into my side. Do you ever think about how ridiculous this started? She asked. You mean when my work rival abducted me to a barbecue and promoted me to boyfriend without consent? You could have said no. I could have. Why didn't you? I looked down at her, at the woman who still challenged me in meetings, still stole the best bite of dessert, still reached for my hand, when she was nervous and pretended it was for my benefit. Because I wanted to see what would happen, I said. Her smile softened, and I kissed her once, slow and sure, as fireworks began opening over the rooftops. And I'm really glad I did. She rested her head against my shoulder, her hand folded in mine, while the sky filled with color and her family laughed all around us. A year earlier, I had arrived as a lie with mustard on my shirt. Now I sat there with Claire tucked against my heart, feeling like every wrong turn had brought me home. What would you have done if your work rival dragged you to a family barbecue and introduced you as her boyfriend? Have you ever experienced anything even close to that? Tell me your story in the comments. If you like this one, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.